Cool. All right, guys. Welcome to episode 6 of the Technician Podcast. I've got Callan Krause here with me today, one part owner of Corrective Culture. Cal's going to talk to us a bit about everything in holistic health and coaching and that sort of thing. But welcome, bro.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
That's
shout out to Jake Stone, the other half of Corrective Culture.
Yeah.
We'll do a joint one day.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
I need to get another set of headphones.
Yeah, I was thinking,
But Cal, basically with this podcast, I love to start in the beginning. So what was your childhood like? Where'd you grow up? And, let's go from there.
Okay, so childhood was about 500 meters behind you right now. Okay, so I grew up in Watala with my mum and my sister, and dad. Dad lived away, but he was on the scene. And I guess what triggered the whole, this is something I only realized, man, like probably in the last year, what triggered my dream, which is holistic health, but definitely movement analysis, and it's called integrated movement science through the Chek stuff. But my father was into something called Feldenkrais. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of Feldenkrais. It's pretty niche, but in the field, it's pretty well known. And it's Moshe Feldenkrais, and it's a Ukrainian like physical therapist. And my dad was a Feldenkrais nut, right? And I hated it. It's so funny that I use it now, man. It's crazy. But
it's cool. Come like full circle.
Yeah, completely. Because my dad never did it as a job or anything, right? And he didn't really work much. And but he always was into Feldenkrais, and he would always like point out people's posture to me and say, like, talk about, oh, how many ways can you sit down? You know what I mean? Do you sit down like this, or do you pivot that foot when you sit down, and things like this? And looking like now, he doesn't know a lot, but he knew a lot for back then, I guess. So he was onto like infant development sort of stuff. So when I was a baby, he'd make sure that I'd crawl and make sure they wouldn't buy me like jolly jumpers and things like that. So they'd have a soft area for me to crawl. Because I see clinically with even just that, like I've got a couple of mums where they've had their kids in jolly jumpers, and then for me looking at it, I just see this baby that doesn't know how to hold its own head in gravity, and it's just fucking bouncing at its cervical spine, just like flexing its head forward, man. And unless you're looking at shit, you don't know. But now that you see it, if you got a kid and it's a jolly jumper, get rid of it, right? But he was onto that, right? And
in early days, so this would have been in the early 90s, right?
I was born in 92, so I mean real early. Yeah. And John Rimmer? Yeah. So I don't remember this, but he told me the other day when we were in school, and this would have been when I was 9, he goes, you told me when we were 9 that I don't move my arms when I walk, and I don't remember that, but now that's what I do all the time in gait analysis. Right. Like, you see people that don't rotate through the rib cage, they swing their arms really hard when they walk because they propel them through space like that because they're so locked up in the rib cage.
Yep.
So, but dad gave me the taste for that for sure. And there was no, I didn't care about nutrition and that so much at the time, but what sparked it all was when I was working at Woolies, I would, like, this was my first job, right? When I was 16, I was working at Woolies. And if a new vegetable come in, I would Google the health benefits of. So, like, anything new, I was like, what the fuck's this? And I Google health benefits of. In my head, I'm like, all right, now I got to get fucking bok choy into me. Now I got to get this into me. Like, and figuring it all out. Because I actually started CrossFit then. And now
it would have been quite new then, right?
Yeah.
At 16.
Yeah, there was only, I started CrossFit about 17. There was only 1 or 2 on the coast. It wasn't even a thing, man. Yep. I actually heard 2 like lesbians at work talking about it, and I asked them, what's that about? And they're like, oh, we do CrossFit. And I was like, all right, I'll go check this thing out. And that was actually my taste into exercise. I played rugby union and that, but
that's right.
Yeah, I played rugby union for the Lighthouses, but and tennis and that when I was young. But that started my workout sort of like, just going hard, and it was good technique wise. It was horrible, right? And I hurt my lower back and I hurt my shoulder, but it was good for heart. Like, it made me push myself really hard to the point where I'd vomit. Now I wouldn't train like that, but I love that I can get to that point, and if I want to, I can.
You know your limits, right?
Yeah. But it showed me how hard I can go, and it made me, nutrition tied into that because I was competitive. So since I wanted to beat people like that, I ate better. I didn't eat better for self-love. Now I eat better for self-love and for just longevity and feeling good, right? But I only tied nutrition into to that for protein and fucking carbs and fats to putting on muscle.
Bigger, stronger, faster. Yeah.
Now I think about food as like micronutrients. Let more, I care more about
minerals and stuff. Yeah.
Like that, because then I felt it now. You know what I mean? Like you can feel the difference, but disconnected from my body. But so that's what sort of initiated and it was my father's Feldenkrais stuff, man. And he'd lay me on the ground when I was young and talk about moving. Like how when you look behind you, like can you look further if you stick your bum out or rotate through the rib cage, or can you breathe into that rib and look further? And it's called awareness through movement, basically.
Yep.
And the funny thing is, man, one of my first clients, she was, and this is a cool story, right? Her name's Jamie, right? And she was one of my first clients, and she had a blood clot in her lumbar spine, and it shut off. It shut off all the nerve supply to her legs, right? So she couldn't walk for about a month, and she was in a wheelchair, and then she couldn't rotate through the spine. She couldn't side bend. So during the initial assessment, she side bended like 2 centimeters each way, right? And then she couldn't rotate more than about 10 degrees each way. So imagine how locked up that spine is, right?
100%.
And then the cool thing was, I used to scaffold, and her dad was my scaffolding boss, and he helped me so much. His name's Breck. Shout out to Breck, right? Skyrise Scaffolding. But he helped me so much because like when I wanted to live my dream, right, I had to take a day off work, and I took a day of clients. So I'd work 4 days scaffolding and a day of doing check, right? And then he let me have 2 days off. So I do 3 days scaffolding and 2 days of doing check. If he didn't let me do that, the fear of me not having money probably would have stopped me from living my dream. I'd probably still be scaffolding right now, okay? But since he helped me so much, and he actually wanted to see me live my dream because he's a good guy, he's like, let me do that. Not many bosses would do that. They'd sack you and fucking bring on
We need to keep you because he understood you're a good worker. Hey, let's keep him around. Let's not let him spread his wings.
Where it ties back to working hard. Like how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So I worked hard for him, even though I knew I didn't want to do it forever, but I didn't just think in my head, oh, fuck, I'll just do this half-assed because I'm actually going to do this thing later. Because I worked hard for him, he gave me that opportunity, you know what I mean? And wanted me to keep working for him. So that changed my life just because I worked hard for him. If I didn't work hard for him, I probably would still be working for him. You know what I mean? Like, and just employed.
100%.
But his daughter, his daughter was the one, man. And she was at the hospital, and none of them knew what was wrong with her, right? She had disc bulges in her lumbar spine, and they still didn't. This is what my belief was. Like, that she did have the blood clot, but they're saying it wasn't related to a disc bulge and things like that. But they don't know because they can't test for that. Yep. So that's the way the medical system works. If the test doesn't show it, it doesn't exist, and they can't guess otherwise, basically. But so she had 4 physios work on her, and they gave her lunges and squats, and she was, by this point, she was up on her feet, but she was walking like the video's back on the Corrective Culture Instagram probably like a year ago, but it's like she was pretty well dragging her foot, leaning off to the side, real like cerebral palsy looking, you know what I mean? Just no brain to body connection there.
Yep.
All right. So she didn't need a workout, which is what they were giving her. She needed brain to body connection. She couldn't move her pelvis and rotate through her ribs. And then I go, the doctors told her blood volume was thick, and that oh yeah, you just got thick, like you just genetically got thick blood, which then if you got thick blood and you got compression somewhere, right, it's going to block, and then you're going to cut off the nerve spine. The nerves aren't getting blood, and then you get your symptom, whatever it is. And I was like, fuck, that doesn't sound right. I was like, do you drink water? And she's like, nah, not really. I might drink like a glass a day or every 2 days. And
Jesus.
I'm just like, you're made of water. You know what I mean? Your blood is water. When you're dehydrated, your blood volume thickens. And then, but more so, man, she was just broken because she had all these people tell her she may never walk properly again. She said, I can't do these lunges and squats and that, but they were like, you can do it, hold into a bar, like all this shit, right? Made no sense because they didn't actually assess her. And that's the standard now. And now that I'm in this field, I realize the standard is so poor. It's mind-blowing. It's like all my work is people that have done it all. And like every person I've get, they've been to every physio and every surgeon and all this shit. And then you just get them to fucking balance their left quad compared to their right, and they get out of pain half the time. Like, that's how crazy it is to me that no one even checks that shit.
There's a lot of overcomplication, you think?
Oh, yeah. It's they overcomplicate it hard out and say the big words, and then they tell you things that sound all right, but, it's a half-ass. Like, I had a guy yesterday, he's like, oh, the physio's already talking about surgery and shit. And I checked his hamstrings, and they're like, one's like 40 degrees tighter than the other, and it's flattening his pelvis, right? But I know this guy's going to get out of pain in like a month. It's crazy, right? But they're talking about fusing the spine. But So I ended up giving her, and I didn't know, but I was intuitively guided with this, right? I firstly told her, listen, like you're still on vegetable oil, you're not sleeping, you're fucking not drinking water. There's so much you can do. There's so much you can heal still. Like you're not even doing all this shit. So who cares about what symptoms you have now? Because you're not even getting 8 hours sleep. Like there's so much you can do. And even when she walked out of there, man, well, I wouldn't say walk, but like drag one foot out of there. Yeah. That I could see her energy was so uplifted just because she had someone believe in her. And I actually did believe in her. I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to fix this girl.
That's cool.
And I got her in, just gave her a Feldenkrais exercise. The first person I gave a Feldenkrais exercise, which is what I rejected my whole life and what my dad drilled into me. But I was like, in my head, I was like, this exercise is perfect because it simulates gait, simulates walking. It's going to move her pelvis a little bit. At the start, she couldn't even move her pelvis. And within the end of the one session, it got an extra couple of inches. So obviously for your spine to rotate, your pelvis needs to move. And man, 2 weeks later, she come in. She drank a shitload of water. She did that exercise and a couple of things, and she walked in, and she was just like a new girl.
Dude, I think I saw that video.
Yeah.
And she's like, postures up. You could just tell her energy was different.
Yeah, she had someone believe in her. You know what I mean? And that was, for me, that was like I just had like dropped a pinger. Honestly, like when she walked in, and I could see that she was just. Her whole life changed. Her dad called me and thanked me, and like he was just really happy. The whole family was stoked, and because it was just bringing everyone down. Like their daughter's in a fucking wheelchair, and that was like I never had a clearer signal from the universe that sweet, this is what you're meant to do. Like you figured it out, and then from then it was a good feeling knowing this is I know I'm good at this. I know I can see the body well, and I wasn't really smart at other things in school and shit. I passed, but I wasn't great at that. But the funny thing was, it was in front of me the whole time. Like I was already analysing people's posture and gait and that, but I thought I wasn't smart enough to be a physio. So it wasn't even. And now I realise, fuck, I'd hate to be.
How long did you doubt yourself, right? Because you would have been. Ever. So how old were you when you finally made that intuitive step to go towards that? Because I know there was a bit that happened in between there that got you to, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So okay, when I was 21, right, we were all partying hard or scaffolding,
as we all do,
right? Yeah. So, and as some people know, so I was getting lots of party drugs and selling them to the boys, and pretty well just to the boys. Pretty well, it was just a big group of us always partying hard, and I was making money off it, right? So I was a drug dealer, and but
it was just your little crew, from what I understand.
Yeah, like I wasn't going out in the streets and fucking slinging it, you know what I mean? And I wasn't good at it. I was losing money and shit because I didn't remember who owed me, and it was just like I was a kid, you know. Yeah. And anyway, I got caught. So I got caught going to the guy's house who I got them from, and he got caught, and everyone went to his house, got caught. And they gave me 2.5 years on top to serve 7 months, right? So imagine when I'm in the courtroom and I thought I'm not going to jail, right? The cop that got me told me I wasn't going to jail. I got done with 100. So still, first time offence, 100 pingers.
Yeah.
It's uncommon to go to jail.
You would
for
think,
that.
Yeah,
especially because I did a year of drug testing up to it. I worked full time, had no prize. I got done with weed twice, but just like a gram, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Had no like real prize, and I got the owner of the drug testing company, which all the judges and shit know, to come in and back me. Like, oh yeah, he's good. Like, and I was good for that year, and the guy still sent me, right? But fuck, thank God he did, because it just, I'm here now and I'm happy where I am. But, so I did 7 months for that, and that was such a cool experience, because it was like I was doing my time, and I was wasting time in there basically. So in my head I was like, I need to catch the fuck up, right? So when it was pretty cruisy in there. Like I did things that I would never have done. I was writing poetry and shit, because what else am I going to fucking do? You know? And I was like writing poetry. I was by the time I got to TV, I watched heaps of Everybody Loves Raymond. That was a fucking great show. But and you got in your routine, you're just training. But it told me things about the body, man. So when I got sentenced, I did 5 days in the lockup before they took me to the jail. And there's no sunlight. So just imagine being in a room for 5 nights, 6 days, right? So
do at least have like lights and stuff in there?
They have LED lights in the morning, but you don't want that. Like in the morning, you wake up, you see this big LED light go on, you forget where you are, and then you're like, oh, that's right, I'm about to fucking do 7 months in this. I don't know where I'm going. Don't know nothing,
So you didn't know you were going to Woodford at the time?
Nah, well, I went to Brizzy first, but everyone goes to Brizzy first because that's like the transition jail, so that's the wake hole. But I just didn't know what tomorrow was. I didn't know if I was going to like start punching them for my food. I just didn't know, you know what I mean? But I met a couple of guys in the, like, talking through the cell doors in the watch house, and they were like, oh yeah, just like, don't say this, don't say dog. And at the time, all my mates were just like, sup dog? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't
just
say
a
dog.
casual sort of reference. Yeah.
And in there, it's like fucking bad, man.
Worst thing you can say, right?
Worst thing you can say. And you have to like train that out of my vocabulary. But it's funny how you start turning into who you hang out with. Like by the end of it, my vocabulary was like, oh, word, brother. Like, and it was just the norm, you know what I mean? Because you're just chameleon. Hey, you don't even realize you are, and that's back to you are who you hang out with, right?
Of course, yeah.
But it was really cool for me to see because I had judgment for all these, like a subtle level of judgment for all these crim, like lad dudes, you know what I mean? Like now we see lads, like fucking lads, like things like that. But they're all from the same area, man. So what does that say? They're all from fucking Woodridge and they're all from Inala. And I was one of the only guys from the coast, you know?
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, all these people in the same area and they're all doing the same crimes, but they're all, in the end, I'm like, they're all just, I see the goodness in them still when I'm in there.
Yeah.
Man, I did, my tennis partner killed 2 dudes and made them dig their own graves. Made them dig their own graves and shot them both. And he's still in Woodford at the moment. And, he was such a nice dude. Oh. So he'd give you his fucking, like, if you needed something, he'd give it to you. You know what I mean? But when I saw him, I could actually see him. I could see how when enough shit happens, you can just be something, right?
Yeah.
Or his dad was like Russian mafia or something, right? So it's just born into it. I'm like, fuck, I'm lucky I'm not born into that. He thought he probably had to fucking just show toughness and kill these people. But I could really see he was... You know, he'd already done 7 years at the time and it was probably like early 30s. So he would have done this early 20s or something.
And he's still there, you said?
He's still there. He was doing 15 years. So he's probably got another like 3 or 4 years or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy here. You know, do 15 years for murder, right?
Yeah. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that's the norm, eh? Life in Australia is 15 years and then you're on parole for life generally, yeah. But... Man, I could still see him. They wanted to be good. They wanted friends. They wanted social connection, you know? Another guy, his name was Rob. He fucked 2 dudes and then killed them and ate them. Or 8 parts. I don't know how much he ate of them or whatever, but I know he ate them, right?
Shit.
And I was playing chess with him and he was talking and I was like, how long are you done? He was like 9. And I thought he meant 9 months and he's like done 9 years and then someone else told me that he'd done that. And again, you see how, you know, Jordan Peterson talks about like, you can be Hitler, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's all in us, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, like you see it with the fucking toilet paper, like all of a sudden, if the dollar just said, nah, it's worth nothing and everyone goes for their food, all our fucking morals and ethics that we think we have, like you get hungry enough and you'll fucking eat someone, you know?
100%.
So it's like, you forget we're all just gorillas, wearing clothes.
Yeah, I heard you say that. I was like, fuck, that's so spot on because I can imagine as well, you going into that prison, your gorilla brain, you're sitting there judging everyone, like you said. Yeah. You're checking out that other gorilla being like, oh, what's he going to do? Yeah. What's his tribe like? And
yeah, it is that. It's gorilla shit.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd walk in and my chest would be puffed out and gorilla shit, but it was fake. It was like, I hope they didn't think my chest is puffed out. You know what I mean? Because the people that didn't puff it out, though, it's like, oh, fuck.
Do they get taken advantage of?
Yeah. Not everyone. Like, you don't have to be super tough, but you just can't be super weak.
Yep.
And it's just a process of evolution, man. Like, if they come in and they're super weak and they let someone take their shit, and when I say let someone take their shit, like someone may ask for, I saw it with a guy come in with, you have tokens, they get you a can of Coke, and he'd come in and was like, this dude came up to him and was like, oh, do you have a token for me? He's like, oh, nah, man, it's for me and my daughter and that. And he's like, come on, like, it's just a token, it's $1. He's like, oh, okay, here you go. Gave him one. And then he's like, fucking good, I would have smacked you one. And then they all just lined up. Oh. And like, there was about a group
They saw the weakness.
Yeah, a lot of guys lined up. You gave him a token, where's mine? You know what I mean? And then ended up, a week later, got punched for fucking something else. Don't remember. But he came in with posture that was rounded. So he came in a fearful posture position. So I'm aware of this when I meet anyone in a meeting, business meeting. I make sure like my posture is looking confident, open palms and things like that. Like, but not, you can't be rounded and because you feel instantly.
You see this, hey? Like you can tell when I'm selling people at work.
Yeah.
And same thing. I learned this thing where it's like as I walk out into that floor and I'm about to help people, walk out like with this energy that I'm happy, I'm kind, talk to me, you know, I'm open to it, and I'll see people talk, but you can see them like, oh, this guy's too much. And then I do then tend to mirror their body language as well.
Yeah, it's good.
I find myself do that because I want them to feel comfortable. So
that's a good
yeah.
point,
So
man.
did you find yourself doing that in the present too? Like finding yourself talking like someone or mirroring their body language?
Definitely just looking. So I remember if you go to a new unit, right, every once in a while they'll move you to a new unit. So you're meeting a new 30, 40 bunch of people, right? So you're walking in and you just like, all eyes are on you and you got your bag and, you know, everyone's doing the real 5-second, who's this guy, you know? So I'd walk in like I've done heaps of years. And hey boys, how you going? Walk up to everyone, shake their hand,
Nice. Yep.
like really confident and like it was just nothing to me. But really deep down I was like, fuck, you know? And I got tested a couple of times. Like I remember this, there was this big, pretty solid dude in there. And I remember he was like, what was he asking me about? Maybe my shoes. He was asking me about my shoes, I think. And like, oh yeah, they're like looking cool. But he didn't ask to try them on or anything, but he was about to. But I was
seeing what your reaction was going to be.
But I wasn't being super nice. Like, oh yeah, just like I was playing cards at the time, I think, and just like looking straight, like, but ready too. Like I was like, if this guy does anything, I'm going to fucking crack him, you know what I mean? But I was scared, man. Like,
of course,
you know what I mean? But I still had jiu-jitsu behind me at the time. I was a blue belt at jiu-jitsu at the time. So as you know, like, they're not all trained in there, you know what I mean? And fights in there are one-on-one. So that's still a lot, you know what I mean? I knew that, if this guy's a white belt, he doesn't have a chance, you know what I mean? Because you've done enough jiu-jitsu. It's like, you can't just do 2 years or something and expect them to be better than you at anything, right? But yeah, so fast forward that, right? And I got out and I was like, all right, I need to catch up. I need to and then I actually caught up and partying pretty quick for a few months there. But man, I was at jiu-jitsu. I went back to jiu-jitsu. Life went back to normal, right? And I met Jake. At Sharp. My mate Cade Sharp brought him to jiu-jitsu, and Jake, we just got along. We just had a conversation, and we just got along, right? And he was one of the first people out of my male friends that when we spoke, we just spoke about, like, I don't know, just deep shit.
Other things, right?
Yeah.
Not like small talk, not like
other things. Like, and it was so refreshing.
Yeah.
It was like I hadn't had that before. It was conversations like me and my dad had. So my dad's like someone would look up at the stars and he'd like, you know, talk about, you know, how this affects this and things like that, and just real deep conversations that make you think, and real shit that it was surprising because he'd talk about things that guys would hide, like very vulnerable things that he says it like it's nothing. And I was like, man, like all these things that people are telling themselves a story, whatever the story is, like this person did this to me and this is why I feel like this. He says it loud, like this is what it makes me feel like, but then it disempowers that real quick.
Yeah.
So, you know, like there's been a couple where I'm like, man, that's crazy that you even told me that. And that he's like, oh, it's nothing, like, you know, and that would ruin people's lives.
I was going to say there's a lot of strength in that, because I feel like one of the things with men especially, and this isn't talking for everyone obviously, but from my experience is that there's a lot of insecurities in men and males. Like they're so worried about how they portray themselves to other men especially, and women, that they have to speak of these things that they're not. And it's like, dude, look, I used to be that guy because of the way I thought, the way I ate, all these like things that just compounded that I didn't know about. And I'm trying to I'm 6'5", 130 kilos. I'm a big guy, but I actually acted differently. Like I was like this, you'd think I'm like 5 foot and 60 kilos kind of thing. Like I just didn't have that power behind me, but I lied about that. You know, I'd speak as if I was this big, powerful dude that's strong and
well, you were Mountain Creek footy, bro. You know,
that's what it was. But people didn't know, man. I was fucking in bed crying because I didn't want to go to work. I'm breaking down because I had a fight with my missus because she's sick of my shit that I'm, you know, Gracie, you know Grace well, Grace put up with 6 years of shit, man. And these are things that people don't see behind closed doors, and I'm happy to talk about them now. But back then, I wasn't. So I was dealing with all this shit with myself and Grace and my family and my close friends. But man, there's guys that they're so scared to share that, which Jake and your dad, obviously are happy to just fucking talk about it.
Yeah, and it's a work in process. And it's, like you said, that once you see it in yourself, you see it in everyone. You fucking see it in everyone.
You can tell it straight away, right?
That's the goal. Like I'm looking at eye contact with my clients that come in. I'm looking at the story they're telling themselves. I'm trying to figure out, like Paul talks about, man, like your goal is to try and figure out the story they're telling themselves that they're not telling the world. Like I'm not good enough from this and shit.
That's good.
Yeah, and you do see it, and I see some girls come in, like say I'm like a 20, 20-year-old girl, you know, and I see a few of them, and I'm like, this poor girl. They're in that stage now where it's like they look comparing themselves to everyone, and they got all these fucking health issues, and they're going to see all these therapists, and they got endo and PCOS, but they're still trying to see all these therapists and find the mechanism instead of like cutting out the bullshit. Like in relationship to like that same thing, I had a guy message me yesterday, man, and he's type 2 diabetic, extremely unhealthy, right? Just extremely. When I see him, he's not my client, but I've met him at a place a couple of times, and just bags under his eyes. Just you can see he's got so much work to do, right?
Yep.
And he's like, oh, I want to do the parasite cleanse, but I'm this, and I'm wondering if I can, and I'm going to get a fecal test and shit, and I'm just like, oh, this poor cunt's just wasting so much money at the moment, because it's like, same with these girls, man, that go and get all these tests before they've done the basics, and when we go into the 4 doctors, which is Dr. Quiet, diet, movement, and happiness. Those are really good for. Think of it like as good 4 foundations almost of where you're lacking. You know what I mean? And this guy's diet's like he's getting a fecal test while he's still eating fucking KFC for breakfast. You know, so it's like people are disconnected from their body. That's the sort of shit you do once you get it all right. That's the sort of shit like I've got my water right, I've got my sleep right, I'm getting organic food. You know, I'm not eating. You know, there's girls that do liver cleanses and they're eating sprayed celery. You know,
yeah.
And just a bit off topic, but I spoke to a celery farmer, right? And he reckons even if it's not organic, and now he's organic, right? And he goes that they spray the ground first, so the soil's sprayed. Then the seed itself is GM. They spray the seed, and then they spray the plant 3 times a day, like morning, lunch, and night, I believe. And then once they pick it, they dip it in a big batch of chlorine, and then it gets sent to fucking Woolies or whatever it is, right, to kill anything that could possibly be on it.
Holy.
And then these girls are having a liver cleanse, like fuck yeah. I'm feeling good, you know what I mean? And they just got so much toxicity that the liver has to deal with. And it's again, it's that disconnection from the way it's always been. You know what I mean? If you want to heal from anything, you just go back to that ancestral shit before we had any of those problems. Try and live as close to as possible with that. Mix in, you know, our sciences and our, you know, a bit of our biohacking and foods that we want to eat that isn't seasonal and shit like that. But if you got any symptom, like, and you're still eating, gluten and your guts are blowing up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I had a girl tell me that, I eat bread and my guts just blow up, but I've been tested and I said I can eat it. So the test is telling them they can eat it, but every time they eat it, their guts hurt. And that's fucking crazy, right? So I care less about food intolerance tests and things like that because they're not always that accurate, and more about eat some food and see how you feel.
How do you feel? Listen to your body.
Yeah.
What's it telling you?
Yeah.
Like when I was talking to Alice, your body's going to tell you things by giving you like acne or something, or you feel like shit, or you're not
pain.
like Pain. Next day after you ate a pizza the night before, you're like, oh, I don't have as much energy. That's weird. I mustn't have got a good sleep.
Yeah, man.
Or is it because of the shit food you ate the night before?
Yeah.
And that's not saying, obviously, like you were saying, you can still eat those things, but it's getting the foundation sorted first. And obviously, you and Jake, you've learned all this through Paul Chek.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying that Jake got into it wholly based off how he sorted out his spine.
Yeah. So Jake. Okay, that's right. Back to that.
Yeah, because we can go on tangents and come back. That's cool.
So Jake shared a video of Paul Chek. I met Jake, right, and then he shared a video of Paul Chek. Sounds cultish right now, right? But basically, just Paul Chek on YouTube on his Facebook, and it was if you can type this in on YouTube and watch this at home. It's Paul Chek on meat, dairy, grains, right? And I was like, oh, what's this guy about? So I clicked on it, and he spoke about. Oh yeah, like I eat meat when I break down flesh. Like when I do a bunch of deadlifts, I feel like I crave meat. Like I've literally broken down my tissue, so I need to eat flesh, right? I don't want to do a heap of squats and eat celery. I'm asking my body to turn celery into muscle, and rather it just go muscle into muscle, you know?
Okay. Yep.
Like for like, right? And then he goes, you know, I have coffee sometimes, but it does this. And if you're a female with these problems, you probably wouldn't want to have a coffee because it, you know, it stimulates this. I can't tolerate grains. You know, most people can't tolerate grains, but if you can, go for it and just soak them and rah. And it all just made so much sense. And it wasn't a diet or anything. He's like, I just make sure my food quality is nutrient dense and that I can digest it. Full stop. So if we go into like Chris Kress's work, which is the concept of nutrivore, which is, if you're going to put a title on it, that's what I'd like to be, which is eating nutrient-dense foods that I can digest.
Nutrivore, that's cool.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, so
it makes heaps of sense. Yeah, holy shit.
So think about like when everyone is nutrient deficient, man. Like you can have chicken and rice which is pretty empty. It's protein and carbs, really. You know what I mean? Or you can have chicken and cauliflower, broccoli, rice with a bunch of herbs and shit. You know what I mean? Instead of just like rice. Or, you know, you can have like breast chicken, or you can have like chicken closer to the bones. You get a bit of collagen. Like things like that. Like that's where I mean how people become slowly nutrient deficient, is because they're having a protein shake instead of a meal. So they're getting protein. When I'm having a steak, I'm getting like B12, iron, you know, selenium, like a whole lot of shit.
Yeah.
When I have my rest days, I think every Wednesday is a rest day for me. More so for like every Wednesday I don't work. Like I work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Wednesday for me is I build energy, right? So I make sure I wake up when the sun wakes me up. I make sure the first thing I do in the morning is I get like 2 to 8 minutes of low angle sunlight to set my circadian rhythm.
So you're looking straight at it?
Straight at it in a way that's, it's not hurting my eyes, you know what I mean? It's low angle, so it's like a sunrise-ish sort of light,
gotcha,
right? You
yeah.
got those first couple of hours in the day.
Yep.
And at night you can do the same thing. But that sets your circadian rhythm for your melatonin to release later on, right? But pretty well sets your hormones. So if you're a chick chasing hormone imbalances and you're not mastering your light, and understand that we had hormones before we had like a body. That's how old hormones are. Old hormones are like when we were a jellyfish or when we were a worm, right? And they're completely dependent on the light-dark cycle. So when the light goes up, you know, our cortisol releases. When it goes down, our cortisol drops, our melatonin. And that's the precursor for all your sex hormones. So if you're a chick with bad periods or PCOS or endo and things like that, and if you're still at night and you don't have your blue light blockers and you're not getting that light in every day in your eyes and in your skin, then you don't stand a chance. You know what I mean? It's one of those evolutionary basics. It's like, what are you doing? Like we've evolved for millions of years to have that, and you think you can pull that out, you know? Same if you think you can get 5 hours sleep instead of 8. You've evolved for millions of years to get, you know, 7 to 9 hours sleep. For me personally, it's about 8 I need, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But imagine just thinking like taking away 2 hours of that and hoping and just thinking you're right. Like 2 hours, that's a fucking long time. What's going on in the body? You know, the shitloads going on in the body that you're not getting for the next day, and your brain cooks itself. But yeah, so Paul, and then Jake had a back injury. So Jake had a back injury, spondylolisthesis. So that's his L4 had slid on his L5. So for anyone listening, imagine your vertebrae stacked on top of L4 on L5, and then L4 is slid anteriorly, slid forward. So basically, it's not stacked on top of each other. So it's not like a disc bulge. It'd be worse than a disc bulge. And his was nearly grade 3. So it means more than 55% of the surface area of the vertebrae touching each other were slipping off, basically. So anytime he does a back bend, the two like the vertebrae, they bump into each other, basically. So it loses the extension capability, and really a really painful injury. And when you go to most specialists at that level, it's just only spinal fusion. They don't even try rehab, right? So he had about 7 specialists tell him spinal fusion. He went to 4 physios, 2 osteos, a chiro, and then lastly he was like, fuck, flew to Sydney and saw the best back surgeon in Australia, apparently. And almost like, yeah, spinal fusion.
Still wanted, let's get in with a knife and cut you open, boy.
Well, in their head, man, they're thinking, you know, if the spine's not stacked, so what can we do? We need to bring it back and then fuse it together so it doesn't slide anymore. Mm-hmm. But remembering that your hip flexors connect to that part of the spine, so if they're tight, they're going to pull it forward, right? His hips were insanely tight. Remembering that he's a bodyboarder, so he's laying flat and then he's doing a back bend at all times, which is pushing that vertebrae forward again. So he did it from bodyboarding. He's a professional bodyboarder, and it slid forward. And he had it for about 2 years, and by the end of it, it got 8 out of 10 on the pain scale. He said, and he goes, I couldn't sleep by the end. And he goes, he was 21, and he's like, if I had to live with that, he goes, I'd rather die. He goes, it wasn't worth living.
It was that bad.
He goes, it wasn't worth living. He goes, crying. He goes, my life's over. Like, I'm never going to go bodyboard again. They said, when you get this surgery, your sport's done, you know? And then his mate told him to go see Paul. Paul's in the States, and he couldn't afford Paul, and he couldn't get to Paul. But he goes, he just found a Czech practitioner in Sydney who's my mentor and our mentor named Donald Carr. And Donald charges a lot of money, you know, charges $275 an hour. But he called up Donald and he was like, oh yeah, spondylolisthesis, yeah, sweet, come in. And Jake goes, just for the first person he spoke to that really knew about it, like he goes, he was excited with that. And he flew down to Sydney and then he got assessed. And this is what I mean by assessment. This is why I didn't go other routes. This is why I didn't go the physio route. And like I was interested in the movement and all that sort of thing, but I wanted something that had it all. I wanted something that gave me the biggest benefit of it all. Like I wanted the nutrition, I wanted the movement, I wanted the mental work, that sort of thing. And that's what the Chek system sort of gives you.
The whole holistic approach, right?
Man, it gives you concepts. And I'm so thankful today that it gave me concepts of how to think. and not what to think. And how we had that conversation before, man. Like,
that's cool.
It's not, they don't say, here's an injury, here's a prescription from the evidence-based, this shit. I throw fucking just about nearly evidence-based all movement shit out the window, because I can have 20 people with an ACL injury and they could all be different drivers. That there's no study you can compare that. You can't make that a good study. It's like, I see it. Like, I did a body reading on Instagram the other day, and these two chicks had the same problem, but they were different drivers. One was driven from a hip flexor on the right, and the other one was driven from a QL on the right. But if you go see someone like a therapist, they can't check that because they don't know how to check for that, because they don't have the assessment protocol. They have like, oh yeah, this is what it says. They're meant to do 4 weeks of this and all this shit.
Just reading from a book, right? That's probably 50 years old. Like,
it's an art, man, and it's intuition. You can push people hard, and you think they're all going, this works and this works. Like, again, off topic again, but my mate recently, he did an MCL, and it was nearly completely torn through, and he went to the doc, surgeon, the knee something, someplace, and they told him to wear a boot for 8 weeks and then start the rehab after the 8 weeks. And he could walk and jog, but he couldn't do any lateral movement. So he goes, my knee felt sketch if I did a side bend or anything, but I could walk all right. So it made no sense for me again, I don't need to study. The guy can walk and run, and you're telling him to put a boot on and just atrophy that leg for the next 8 weeks and then start the rehab. So, because he was on workers' comp, we didn't tell the guy we did this, right? But we took his boot off straight away. Like, fuck that. Start eating what it's made of. So eat your collagen, lower your inflammation. So he was having ice baths, he was having saunas, he was having shitloads of collagen and like fish oil, basically. It's this Nordic Naturals one that's like for joint repair. Basically eating what he needs to be repaired, right? And then went back in 6 weeks later, not 8 weeks, right? And it had completely healed through, and he didn't wear the boot. So he wore the boot at night and bedtime to stop it from knocking, but he goes, I wore it for 1 day, took it off, and it felt like my whole leg was just unstable as fuck because it was doing the job for the muscles. So that had no sense. Old mate didn't even do an assessment on him, and this is meant to be the guy, apparently, that fucking this knee dude, right? And he didn't even do an assessment. So he didn't check his rotation through the spine. If you can't rotate up above, your knees will just cop it. If you can't rotate in your rib cage, it means your knees won't be able to stay forward and back. It means when I turn to my left, my knees will come to my left too. And I turn to my right, my knees will come to my right. So he didn't check that shit. So we just did deep tissue work and a bit of real like chill stability, man. But imagine like, I believe maybe it wouldn't have even healed if he had that boot on.
100%, yeah.
But the poor thing is, like, this guy had to go back to that specialist, and old mate thinks he's done a good job, but I can't tell him because he was on workers' comp, so he needs to get paid.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And it's like, who else is that guy giving that to?
Yeah, the same thing.
Just because they've disconnected from the common sense of, I understand maybe if the guy couldn't even walk, I understand that, okay? But not if he can jog and run. What's the point? You're trying to take that ability away from him when the body's saying, I can do this, let me do this, Tie it back to evolution again. Fuck, what are you going to tell the tribesman that did his MCL to not to sit there for 8 weeks? They're going to be like, fuck off, get up and help us hunt.
Yep.
So it's like common sense again.
Yeah.
But Jake's back injury went away in a month from stretching. Not went away, his pain went down after about, he said about 3 weeks. The pain went away, went down from stretching. And then from that, he'd built a good foundation. Balance the pelvis. If your pelvis is off, then your spine's always going to hurt, right? So they balanced his pelvis, stretched his hips, did a really custom stretching program to the leg tension. So if your left quad's at 120 degrees and your right quad's at 135 degrees, then you'll be stretching left, right, left. You'll stretch your left, then your right, then your left again to get them closer.
Okay.
Right? Always. If you're someone listening...
Just balance it out, like the
always
left.
Always balance, man. Always. That's such a really good tip. If you're listening and you do your own stretching, if you do yoga or whatever, if you're doing one, say leg, one hamstring, and you do the other hamstring and it's tighter on one, you don't stretch them both the same. Otherwise, you're just going to have this torsion in the pelvis somewhere. You always balance your left and right. Neck, chest, everything, right? Rib cage, when you breathe, check that. Can you breathe into one rib cage more easier than the other? If you can, why? Ask yourself why. What am I doing? Maybe you can mobilize it. Maybe you can breathe into it and bring that awareness to it. But always fix that shit because that can show up as a symptom anywhere, right? If my rib cage is jammed down, I might not be able to rotate. And if I can't rotate, then my knee is going to cop it, So there's these...
It's crazy how connected we are without realizing, right? And these are things that, I'm hearing all this, and because I'm learning about this, and I did do some research on Paul as well myself, I'm understanding it. But for everyone that maybe hasn't looked into it, they're probably thinking, what does he mean?
Yeah.
But I think after listening to that now, they'll be like, okay, this makes sense. Now I need to start balancing, start looking at, okay, my knee's sore, but maybe it's not my knee, it's everything that's around it that's causing the issues, which makes a heap of sense. So
it's never the knee. It's never the knee. It's never the knee. It's never the ankle. It's never the shoulder. Just know that for everyone listening.
So you get to that point where Jake has that experience, right? And you're now like, fuck, this dude's awesome. Whatever they're doing, we want in.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, you then had to work towards doing that.
Yeah,
and this was awesome where I heard you talk about archetypes. I actually did mine, and I think I was the child, the innocent child or something like that. But you were talking about the prostitute archetype, which is, you know, doing something to work towards your goal, which you may not have wanted to do.
Yeah. Or not even towards your goal. You could just be playing it as negative and doing something.
Just getting that money, right? Yeah, for money. Yeah. Which you were working in the mines.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So this is how it started, right? There was a podcast from Paul. I was just banging out Paul Chek podcasts at the time.
Yep.
I don't even listen to that many of them anymore because I've listened to so many, right? But at the time, that's where I was at. And I listened to a lot of podcasts, but it's not so much of Paul's lately. And he said, listen, like, when I was young and I wanted to do this, I just look for the next upgrade. And he goes, you got to look with your eyes, ears, like common sense, but your heart's your compass. Your heart's always going to be your compass. And man, when I heard that one, it's crazy. When I heard that one sentence, I was just driving. It was just fucking my eyes half closed, whatever. It's like something just clicked in my head and I was like, holy shit. That's the fucking answer to everything.
Boom. Everything. Life changer.
Whether I want to do this podcast or not, whether I want to meet this person, like let your heart be your compass. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, I thought about doing it as a job, helping people as a job movement-wise and doing the check thing. And I just got such a feeling of like, oh, yeah, it's like the beacon just lit up like in that direction. That's the direction you want to go. And I thought about other things. I'm like, nah. I thought about that. Boom, heart lit up. So I was like, fuck, that's it for everything. Like every decision you need to make, let your heart be your compass. And then instantly I was like, oh, cool. Now I know what I want to do. I thought I was one of those people that never knew what they wanted to do for the rest of their life. I was like, everyone else has figured it out. I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the one, you know? And then all this bullshit story you're telling yourself, you know? And then I was like, oh, sweet. Now I know I need to do that. Now it's easy. Now, okay, for me to do that, I needed this amount of money. So I went online, checked how much the courses were for where I wanted to get up to start actually working. It would have cost me about 15 grand. So I was like, all right, I need 15 grand. All right. And then within about, say, a week of that, someone messaged me saying, hey, my sister's boyfriend messaged me saying, oh, you know, I'm in the mines. I might be able to get you work. I wasn't even asking. I didn't even put it out there. He
just started coming to you, right?
Yeah, he came to me and I was like, oh, that's pretty fucking, if I say no to this, that's pretty dumb. Like, there's my 15 grand, you know what I mean? Because I know I couldn't save it at home at the time. I was just like, just blowing money, right? Just cafes and shit. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do this for 6 months. Go get some money. Man, at the end of the 6 months, I saved just about almost to the dollar, a bit over 15 grand. Literally, like, wouldn't have been over $100 more to 15 grand unintentionally. It just managed to be that. I feel like I wasn't even saving that hard, but it ended up being 15 grand right to the 6 month mark. I could have stayed and made money and got a promotion with this mining gig, right? But I was like, oh, there's my 15 grand. Like, do I want to make money or do I want to start my dream? So straight away, I just booked in all the courses. So they were booked in. I had no excuse. So it means there's the date coming up. I've got to get my prereqs done. I've got to read this shit, got to get onto it, then go do my courses, you know? And then that's just exactly what I did. And it pushed me right to the, like, I was never great at, like, getting my assignments done and shit at school. I always got them done, but always, like, that week before or day before and shit. And even with this, I was almost doing a little bit of that, right? But I was like, it pushed me right to the limit hard enough where I was almost broken, like, fuck, this is complicated. And then I was like, oh, no, it's good. And you learn a bit. Like, it pushes you hard enough where you learn. It's not just like read this here and there. It's not that. It's like, it's very hard to
take it in, right?
Yeah, you take it in, man. It's very, you know, one day of that shit you learn a lot more than the book could teach me in hours and hours and hours of reading it. But you still got to read the book, but you integrate them together. Or books of, you know. And it's not like the Czech stuff doesn't have their own books. It's like, you know, now we're looking at the pelvis. Diane Lee, she's the best in the world at the pelvis, so we use this work, you know. Tom Myers, he's the best in the world at fascia. So it's just you connecting famous physical therapist shit into one system. This is what works. I know they're all doing that, but we don't do that. You know, like I want to ask people that have done it for 30, 40 years and say, what do you do for this? I don't give a fuck about what the lecture says. What do you do for this? Because you know if it works or not. You've done it to 100, 1,000 people. Did it work to 1,000 people? Sweet. What did you do? That makes sense to me.
Yep.
Because then it's too hard if it's in the book because it's like, again, where we go back to those evidence-based shit, like there's so many reasons why someone could have an ACL injury. What if this person's fucking eating 2 hours sleep at night and eating McDonald's, and this person's eating organic food and drinking good water and having ice baths and shit? You know what I mean? It's like the body as a whole. And then I ended up like learning a fair bit, and me and Jake went to Bali, and he's like, man, you got to start taking on clients, right? And he's like, you got to start doing it. And I felt like I was never going to know enough. I was like, nah, not yet.
Questioning yourself,
sort of thing. Yeah. He's like, nah, fucking do it. So I went home, set up Rimmer's garage, fully like just made it clean where I was living at the time, like just fully set it up. It was real shit still, you know, some rank desk, and there was like brown shit on the walls from where they used to pay in the room. And then I got my first client there, and then they paid me, and I was just like, whoa, that's fucking, I just got paid to do that, you know, and I charged them $450 for the assessment, and I moved on. And then as they left, I got 2 phone calls from 2 of their friends, and they both booked in. So within about a week, I had about 10 people hit me up. So I had about 10 clients within a week, and that's an income. That's a job. And then a couple of weeks later, I quit my job. And then as soon as I quit my job, it just went whoosh. So as soon as I told the universe, all right, let's do it.
I'm ready. Let's go.
They gave me, the universe like, all right, here's your people. You
know? Man, that gives me goosebumps. Because I had the exact same thing happen. Not to be a Terry topper with the stories and stuff, go. Similar thing where it's like, holy fuck. As soon as I decided that, because the same thing, when you find that guiding light, that northern star, whatever it is, everything aligns. You're like, oh, this is it. Because I started listening to heaps of podcasts and stuff during my breakdown period a few years ago, and I kept hearing these things in these podcasts. It's like, fuck, I feel like that's it. But then it was just one thing. I think it was like Ed Milet or something. And he talks about being of service to others, and I was always like, man, I really enjoy helping people at Rebel and stuff. Maybe I could find something. And then all of a sudden, all this shit starts coming at me. I'm like, oh, why don't you become a PT? Okay, that's a basic form, but then it becomes, it's coaching, it's mental health stuff, it's focusing on holistic, it's the podcast pops up. Bro, as soon as I decided, yep, I want to help people, however it's going to be, mental health, whatever it might be, all this shit starts coming. And yeah, as soon as you take that leap, right, the universe provides.
Man, and for people listening right now, like that is, like you said then, I believe in that so much. I have so much trust in the universe that it's a fucking joke now, because I've just seen it. It's almost taking the piss now. If I need something at the universe the next day, like here's someone that hits me up and says, here you go for this. And I'm just like the other,
like, what?
Yeah, there was a period there where I was working a bit too much. Like I didn't want as many clients, and the clients dropped off a bit. And I liked that. It was an energy building process for me. And I was like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to make some more money now. Like I got my energy back. And then 3 people booked in that day. And I'm just like, yeah, but I knew they would. That's the thing. Like,
yeah, you weren't worried about it.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about it. I know it's always all good. And you know, how we're like, oh, we're ready for some website shit. And we were at Belmondo's the other day, and this girl walked up to us and said, hey, we love your stuff. I want to work on your website. And here's my stuff. And then she showed us, and it was just perfect now branding. And I was just like, yeah, all right. Jake's like, yeah, cool. They threw it. Yeah, she came to us. When Jake and I were looking for a house, we were waiting. Everyone's looking for a house. He's like, nah, wait, we'll get something good. We'll get something good. And we got this gem of a house near the beach for like so cheap during Corona that it's like $300 underpriced what we're paying. But we knew we would.
Yeah, and you weren't stressed, eh? It's just like, it'll come.
If we're wrong, there's no negatives of believing that. You know what I mean? It only makes you happier if you believe in it. So it's like, and like I got a friend now that's doing. So it's funny. My mate, my sister's boyfriend, or soon to be husband, he's the one that got me the gig in Krause, right? And he's very academic, and he's smart, right? But it's almost, and he knows it, right? It's almost smart to a fault of generally the most people I see that are unhappy and depressed are the ones that are too analytical or too science-based with, oh yeah, like we're just on Earth, that's hydrogen and carbon up there and this is that, instead of like, oh, that's a fucking, like, there's the sun that's made of this, but I'm like, oh, there's a fucking sun there. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter if it's made of that. The fact that it's there is the magic. You know what I mean? We're talking about what your connection to source or God is or oneness, and how, for me, it's just the fact that we're here is the magic enough. That's what I connect to for spirituality. It's not, I will say, I don't like when people say God's a he. You know, he's like, what is that? It's more than a guy. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. And it is us. I am God. You are God. Like, the fact that we're here, the fact that there's a moon in the sky, the fact that there's anything, that's the magic. It's not, doesn't have to be Buddhism or Muslim or whatever it is. It can be that, but it's just that connection. And when you have that slight connection, it's almost like you have a bit of trust in the universe and you're like, oh, sweet. Like, it is a big game we're just playing. It's just a big fucking game, and people take it way too serious. And you notice all the biggest gurus, like the Ram Dass and the Alan Watts and all these like old philosophers, they're laughing. The ones that are laughing all the time, man. Like, it's a big... Don't take
having a sick time, right? Yeah.
Holy. It's like, don't take anything too serious, because it's like, we're only on here to have fun. So if something goes bad, like, oh fuck, that's done. Like, all right, let's move on. Like, and just learn from it. And then it's not so like, I'm meant to have this, I'm meant to do this. It's like, it's really freeing.
Yeah,
you know? It's really freeing. And I see it with like female clients. I get a lot of female clients. So most of my clients are probably females, because I have a passion for training guys too, but like definitely girls, because I feel like girls need it more. Yeah. I feel like girls are...
they deal with a lot, man.
They deal with a lot more.
So right? Much. Like,
because their body cops it.
Hormonal stuff, you know, like whatever it might be. And it's just... It's a very complex thing. And I understood that through... Christian and I did like a 6-month period where we were testing out our Arcadian coaching business. So we got on some clients, like a lot of women and stuff. And me personally, I was like, holy shit, I know nothing about women. Like, I thought I did, but... they're so different. You have to train them different. You have to give them different programs. Like, there's so much to it. And I see it. I see it in your Instagram and stuff, bro. Like, these women, you're literally changing their lives. And through basic foundations of health. But also the big things mentally, I think, which I think women specifically deal with this a lot, men too. But it's the outside. It's like everyone, they're so worried about what everyone fucking thinks, how they look. Oh, I'm fat, whatever it might be. It's like, hey... just relax, take it easy. Yeah. Life is very chill when you want it to be. And if you can take out all those external sources of pain, which is such like Sarah is looking so good lately. What do I do to get to that point? What do I have to eat? And they complicate so much. So I'm sure when they come to you and you start talking like this, they're like, it's like a weight off their shoulders. It's like, fuck, okay, maybe things can be a bit more simple.
Well, girls, this is the female expression of the universe. And if you ever want to get into a book that really dives into that, it's called The Way of the Superior Man by David Dieta, and it's about male and female and energy, and how it really helps you understand a bit more, and help understand like, for me as a male, we go logic, you know what I mean? Like, why are you angry? You shouldn't be angry. And girls not like that. It's like, you should know why you know what I mean? Like, it's this dance we got to play together, but you can't just hit it with logic. But for girls, man, it's like all social media and shit. Like, you keep seeing things like but you see girls where it's like, I can tell the ones that are sort of unhappy, because it's always like, me and you against the world. Let's build an empire, and let's. I'm meant to do something more. They're a mother, and they're like, I got to have this and this and do this shit, instead of like, the fact that they're a mother is incredible, and that it's not enough for them, or they need to be told. They don't know that it's enough. Why isn't it just being the best possible mother I can be good enough, instead of having to do this and do. They feel like they're lesser, while they're seeing their friend that doesn't have a kid yet or whatever, when they don't even realize that. I get girls where they're lost, but they don't realize they're the mother archetype. They don't need a kid to be the mother archetype, right? So where they're like, oh, what am I meant to do in life? But really, I'm like, oh, this chick's such a mum. Like, when she has a kid, it's going to be a whole fucking world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's just like,
she's going to smash it, you know? And that's awesome.
Yeah, and when she does, she'll drop into that, and she'll, start doing the good food and just support building a family, and that's fucking gold, because that's the future, you know. But it doesn't have to be bigger than you. It doesn't have to be something huge, you know. It just has to be something fulfilling. That, again, your heart being your compass. So that's just for girls to hear, man. It's like, that's good enough, you know. Just being the best possible mother you can be is good enough. And then and that it's harder for them, because it's like, again, health issues and things like that. Like, for guys, we can throw a heap of gluten in our guts and do that sort of shit. It doesn't really matter that much, you know, a lot of the time. But for chicks, it's like their body's designed to hold two. So anything off, any pain off, anything, skin issue, eczema, fucking period pain, that's a real quick symptom, like a signal from the body as the pain teacher to see something's off, you got to change something. I'm not liking this, you know? So any pain in life, if you got any pain, if you're trying to heal from cancer, if you're trying to, if you got knee pain, you wake up with back pain, ask yourself why. Don't ask yourself, who can I see to fix me? Ask yourself, when I see someone with back pain, in my head I think, oh, what have they eaten, more so than what are their movement patterns? Because I've seen it clinically, man. You can have someone has an injury, and if they raise their physiological load from some way by, say, having vegetable oil for dinner or Macca's, their back's going to hurt in the morning, and they're going to be looking for a massage or something, but really it's because they're fucking inflamed, and that's pushing on the nerve root. So diet's way more important, I find, than movement quality for healing from injuries and getting rid of back pain. And then you hit it with the movement, and that's when the magic happens. But people forget that. People forget that.
Going off the back of that, bro, you just reminded me. So, like I was saying before this, I started diving real deep in on Paul the last few days because obviously I knew I was going to be talking to you about it. He said something about athletes where they become so obsessed with their athletic endeavor, which is footy, becoming a powerlifter, IFBB, whatever it might be. They forget about other parts of their life, which is their relationships, living, nutrients, like all these basic things we've just talked about. It becomes an addiction, and people don't realize this. Your sport can become something that actually breaks you mentally, physically, spiritually. It can destroy your whole life because you become so zoned in on, I want to be an NRL player.
Yeah.
That's all I fucking care about.
Yeah.
Cool. But if you forget about all those other things, you know, the basic health things, and you get a fucked up knee or whatever it might be, like you've just talked about, you don't care. You just, I'll go see a physio, slap on a fucking knee bandage or whatever, I'll go out and play.
Yeah.
And that thing eventually gets worse and worse and worse, and all of a sudden your career's over.
Yeah, well,
because you didn't fix those physiological basic things.
Well, it's like, and their coaches are thinking of them like he says, like machines.
Play through pain.
Yeah, like their machines, like, oh yeah, I eat, sleep, I do this, but they forget that this person's got either a kid or a missus at home that makes dinner for them so they can train. So they can go to training and dinner's ready when they get home. Otherwise, if dinner wasn't ready when they get home, maybe they eat shit and they wouldn't be closer to their dream. So that's when you look at your dream team. It's a really good concept, hey? Look at your dream team. So all the people in your circle that are part of you getting towards your dream in not in a selfish way, because it's getting towards theirs too. So it's a tribal thing, right? That's why we survive. That's why we got love. You know, we need tribal community so we can fucking, when I'm sick, someone can make my dinner. You know what I mean? Or, you know, that's what I see. Like old people these days don't have a place. When in tribes, they'd be looking after the kids and things like that. Like there's a awareness there. But your dream team, man. Like how good is it when you go onto the field but your missus hates you when you get home? Or your kids fucking, you know, you're scared when you get home because you're pissed off after training, or you know what I mean? It's a whole thing, and you don't leave that shit when you go and play your sport. It's part of it. Again, we're not a machine. So that's what I thought of recently, man, because, I recently started seeing Brie, and I'd had training, and I've always just, because I've done it myself for a while, I've always just like done training, like say jiu-jitsu or MMA at night, and I go home, it's like 8 o'clock, then I go to make dinner and fucking have a shower and prep lunch the next day and all that sort of shit. And if I'm on the way from training home and dinner's ready for me, I'm like, whoa, my life just got so much easier. My energy's there for me tomorrow to live my dream and get towards closer to just on the path, because it's all about the journey, right? But it makes me feel better. And I'm like, that was a really understanding for me that you got to keep the people, it's not all about your thing. You got to keep the people around you happy too, but a nice yin yang balance with everything. You know what I mean? Like you can't do it too much their way either. Like it's got to be this nice dance.
There's got to be an understanding on both sides, because like you said, well, actually, one thing I think I've mentioned before, I don't know who I said it to, but my mate said to me, and this fucking changed my life. It actually made me do the podcast. So I was talking to a mate, Tommy, and he put it in a way where I was talking about all these people that might be holding me back in a way and things they're doing. And he goes, all right, so what if Tamara was out in the water, 50 meters out there? That's your life. You're trying to support her. Everything, your dreams and everything revolve around supporting her or my family, whatever it might be. And he goes, and what about if all these other people are on the side stopping you from supporting her? And that comes down to the work you're doing, the study you're doing, all these things. But then you're then wasting your time with all these people that are trying to bring you down. Tams is out there drowning.
Yeah.
You can't go save her because you're doing all this other stupid shit. It's taking you off your path. And as soon as he put it down like that, I was like, man, I need to lock in. I need to start doing these things I come talking about and blah, blah, blah. But you're right, Tams would have also been sitting out there too, because she understands this is Trav's journey. He'll save me. He's coming here eventually. So I'll just chill. I'll stay relaxed. I'm not going to panic and scream out and all this sort of thing. He'll get here. Trust. There's got to be trust. And like you said, yin and yang. So I think that in itself, that idea of people have these dreams and goals, but if you don't focus on so much more in life, that dream and that goal is going to get so much further away because you're just fucking going off path. Yeah,
and there's a good sort of unintentional sort of foundation I use, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4 model, which is one love. So firstly, whatever your one love is, your dream basically. The love is your dream or your legacy, whatever you want. And you got to try and clear that shit up. Like really try and meditate on that. Like if you're someone that's like, what do I want? Just sit and ask yourself, like sit down for 20 minutes, close your eyes and actually meditate on it. And don't, otherwise your brain will race too much and it'll race and then you'll just flick it to the side again and then you'll think about it again fucking a year later. You know what I mean? So do try and think about what is it that you love. And if you don't know what you love, then think about what your nightmare is and just do the opposite of that, right?
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. And two forces. So when I say two forces, it's sort of like yin yang, everything. I'm looking at yin yang for everything. So too much, too little sleep. Too much food, too little food. Are you doing too much of what makes you happy to a fault where it's stopping you from doing your dream?
You're not growing.
I say I want to go for a surf, but like I do that fucking 5 hours a day and then I'm like, oh, I'm too tired to actually work on my business, which is the true happiness, the true dream, right? Literally too much or too little everywhere. And then you look at the three choices. So 3 choices is optimal choice, suboptimal choice, and passive, not making a choice, which is a choice in itself, right? So if you got something, and this is, we all know what we need to do. That's what's so cool about it. Like if you can, it's just pausing and thinking about it. So if I'm making a choice, literally stop and think. And this is where you got to drop into your masculine a bit, and for females too, like logic, like what's the best choice in this situation that's going to get me towards my dream? Like, and what's the suboptimal choice? And it could be anything. Say I'm running late for work. Is the best choice to call up first and tell my employer, hey, I'm going to be, 5 minutes late. Can you, I'm just letting you know so you can prepare, or, not going to do anything, right? Which is a choice in itself, which sort of throws them out a little bit. Or not the suboptimal choice, just like rocking up and just being a little bit angry or something. Again, a choice. And then people feel that anger and they're like, oh, I won't give that person an opportunity in fucking a year because I saw them do that. I'm like, that's a weakness. Like, it's all these little things, little choices everywhere. You're making choices all day long. And I mean, like, your fucking partner could be cheating on you. How am I part of that? Not that it's to find fault, but how did I see the signs at the start and I just chose not to see them, you know, because it made me feel good and, things like that? Or am I unhappy and I just chose to suppress it a little bit and not bring up why I'm having, maybe the sex is shit, maybe this, whatever, just figure that out. And then 4 doctors, which is diet, quiet, movement, and happiness. So with those 4 doctors, with the diet, quiet, movement, happiness, I sort of use those two forces, the yin yang. Okay, so I look at the diet of like, where's this person at with their food and that, or where with their sleep, like are they getting too little, too much? And then you can look at more into the foundations, which is if you're trying to heal from anything, right? Look into your, like, if you got a symptom right now and you're like, fuck, I want to get rid of this symptom. Look into your thinking first, right? Because you got to believe you got to heal, right? If you don't, then fucking good luck, Look into your breathing, okay? So you got to be breathing right. Jake put a video up on Corrective Culture yesterday on the story where he just watched this guy, goes, breathe for me. And this guy had the most inverted breathing pattern you've ever seen. His chest just goes and his stomach doesn't even move, okay? So if someone's seeing me for like back pain and they're breathing into their chest and they're just using their flexors of the neck all day long when they're not even meant to be used like that. They're meant to be used when your lung needs to be picked up for a lot of air, right? But for general breathing, it's like they're flexing their whole spine forward all day long, tightening their pecs, tightening their abs, instead of just... And the pain, you're going to feel the pain somewhere. You're going to feel it in the lower back, neck, something, but they're breathing wrong. So also, if I'm breathing better than you, if you're breathing shallow and I'm not, and we're doing that for the next rest of our lives, and if I'm dead without air, that's how quick, if we don't have air for a few minutes, we're dead, right? Unless we do some breath work or some shit, then that's how important it is. We're dead without it.
Yeah.
Everything runs off breath. You know what I mean? If I stop breathing, I'm dead. My heartbeat, my lymphatic flow, if I'm trying to repair an ankle injury and I want blood flow around the body, if I'm breathing shallow, it's not going to be as good as someone that's not. So that's a part you got to look at. So thinking, breathing, then movement. Again, back to those 2 forces. What sort of movement am I doing? Am I overworking? Am I just like, and this is where you got to get a really fine relationship with your body. Like I know when I need a rest. I'm really on point of that. And if I break that rule, I get a flu. And it's just, I've figured this out 10 times over. I tested it fucking 100 times over. I'm like, maybe today I'll do it, and then I get some form of fucking just flu or I just feel run down.
That's
or something,
cool. You can understand that. That's sick.
So you just gotta feel your body and like, all right, oh, I know I want to go to the gym, I want to look good, but nah, I'm doing my ice bath, or I'm going to do my hour of deep tissue, or I'm booking a massage, or I'm going for a swim, or I'm having a nap.
So is that your working in?
Yeah.
Which is what I heard Paul say. You got your working out, and you got your working in.
Yeah. So again, yin yang. There's the yin. There's the working in. Yang. There's the working out. So if I do a workout, I always counter it with a work in. So I did pretty hard workout with Jake 2 days ago, and I was sore as fuck yesterday. So I did release on my hamstrings. I had cold showers, had an ice bath. Did I? No, I didn't have an ice bath. But generally we do, right?
Yeah.
2 saunas. When I'm sore like that, I think, all right, I need to bring in nutrient-dense foods. I need to bring in oysters, beef liver, things that are going to replace like meat, because I'm broken down all this meat in my body. I'm going to eat meat, but it's going to be high-quality, organic, grass-fed meat, not fed with grains. So then the grains aren't raising my inflammation, which is making it all hurt more, right? So there's the movement side of things, the food, diet and quiet, which is sleep. So again, back to those things. If you're getting 5 hours sleep instead of 8 and you got anything, it's like, fuck, you don't stand a chance. Imagine like, and it's hard for people to understand it until they feel it. And when you start thinking like that, when you start feeling it, it's like, man, if I get 5 hours sleep instead of 8, I'm not going to the gym. I'm going to have a sleep. I've done the grind before. I've done all my CrossFit, and I've fought MMA. Like I've done that overtraining shit before, and now I don't need to do that anymore because I feel the negatives of it, And now I know, like I just know I'm never going to get an illness. I don't have any symptom. I don't have any pain. I don't have any skin issue. I don't have any weird shit happens, and I don't need a study to tell me what I'm doing wrong. I don't need someone to tell me, oh, red meat's bad, because it doesn't make sense in the light of evolution. I'm seeing all these tribes people eat fucking organic red meat that don't have cancer and shit, and you're going to tell me that what got us here is wrong? You're going to tell me that, like, if I'm an Aboriginal right now and you tell me to go vegan and you tell me to survive on this land that I'm around right now, to not kill a kangaroo, how the fuck am I going to live? Without agriculture. I can't have a farm either, right? So it doesn't make sense. That's all I need. I don't need you to tell me this hormone and that study. It's like, it doesn't make sense. I fully believe that the world is perfect. Earth is perfect from a animal point of view.
They've given us everything we need, right?
Everything we need, right? Seasonally, oh shit, winter's here. So when I'm in winter, I have less fruit because I just don't feel like it. Why do I not feel like it? It's fucking cold. And when it's cold, shit doesn't grow like that. There's no fruit and shit unless there's some berries, So I have slow cooked meals. I love bone broth. I use the slow cook in winter. When summer comes around, I have more fruit. And we all naturally probably do that too, but we just forget. Winter for me is a time for rest. The sun's down for longer. I sleep in more. I build energy. And then when autumn and spring and summer and that come, I go hard. And when winter comes back, chill out on all your shit. Just relax for a few months. Let that body heal. You can plan a bit, do your business stuff, but don't go too hard. You know what I mean? And then go hard again. Otherwise, you'll burn out adrenally and you'll get an illness of some sort, whether it's cancer or fucking anything in some amount of years.
Going back to that, actually, when you talk about Earth's given us everything we need, right? Something I've been learning about interestingly lately, because in my family there's a lot of skin cancer, a lot of Scottish blood and that sort of thing. Dad looks like Fatty Vorton, and he's so scared about it because it is something that in that family it's always been a thing. And I'm learning about this shit where they're saying that we've been told for so many years that the sun's bad for us, right? But now I'm starting to see things where it's like, it's not the fucking sun. It's the shit we're rubbing into us or the shit we're ingesting, which is causing all the sunburn, skin cancer, all that sort of stuff.
Definitely. And it's, don't get burnt. Your skin, the skin will tell you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't tell me the sun's killing me if I'm not getting burnt. Like, if I'm getting red, then all right, this body's like, nah, you had a bit much, mate, But if I'm sweet, don't tell me it's killing me because it's fucking not. It's the sun, right? I know when it's too much and too little. And there's a huge thing with skin cancer with vitamin D3, B3 deficiency. That's a big link. You go see a skin doctor. A lot of them will tell you that. And they'll tell you to go have a vitamin B3 supplement, but organ meats have rich in B3, right? And for millions of years with every single human, every one of us have ate organ meats. All the pregnant females had liver.
Beef liver's unreal, bro.
Unreal, man. If you want to if you're a girl and you want to get rid of your problems, get onto foraged. I'm not got no affiliation with her, but it's fucking every chick. If I had any female, I'll put them on foraged, which is Sheridan's.
Is that Sheridan's?
Yeah,
which is she's unreal. Hey,
yeah, all the beef liver. But man, I've had a few girls now. I had about 3 girls where their period disappeared for years and brought it back from, and one came back within 2 weeks, right? Which is crazy. You didn't have it for 3 years. where we cut her training back. She was training 5 days a week. So again, back to evolution. She's just a female, which their body's not designed to go as hard. I know it sounds whatever, but it's the truth. Okay. So she was training 5 days a week, back to evolution. There's no tribeswoman just fucking going that hard 5 days a week. You know what I mean? So she was going too hard, too much cortisol, too much stress. Her body was like, why are we going this hard? You know, if we're going this hard, we're running away from something, then we can't have a kid. You know what I mean? It's like, why are we not eating these fats and organ meats? If we're not eating these fats and organ meats, we mustn't be getting a lot of food. Fuck, if we have a kid, we're both going to die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything, tie it back to evolution and think, if you're a girl trying to fix that shit, you got to get your rhythm on point. You got to make yourself feel safe from an evolution perspective. So you got to get your meals at the same time. You got to get your 8 hours sleep. If you don't get 8 hours sleep, your body's like, why did I get 5 hours sleep tonight? Maybe we're in trouble. Fuck fertility. You know, it's
let's get in fight or flight mode. Basically, is what it's doing.
But it's all just concepts, man, and it's these people miss this shit. People miss this shit, but it's so important because it's the basics, and they get too caught up chasing the test and the mechanism and this instead of like fix it as a whole. Fix it as a whole, because it's like people really need that, and it empowers you. And it makes me feel like, you know, my goal when I have someone come see me I get people see me for 10-hour blocks, right? They do 10 hours up front. My goal by the end of it is to have them sorted for the rest of their life, to know how they should be eating intuitively, at least close to, right? And how to train for the rest of their life in the gym. Just pretty well how to have a relationship with the body and how to fix themselves. So I don't like giving someone an exercise without telling them why they're doing it. When I'm trying to fix a pelvic twist, I say, all right, well, let's look at your pelvis, see how it's twisted, all right? Now watch what happens when we stretch this. Oh, look, it squares it up. So now you know when you stretch your right hip flexor, it stops your pelvis twisting to the left, which is flattening that right foot, which is hurting the inside of your knee. But now you know that right hip flexor is the driver. So for the rest of your life, when this happens again, because it will, then you don't need to come see me again. You know what I mean? It will happen again within about a month of your movement patterns. Like my left leg always gets stronger than my right, and it gets tighter because I do jiu-jitsu. So I always shoot on my left leg. I rarely shoot on my right leg. But I counter that. When I go to the gym, I counter what my sport does to me. So I know my left hamstring gets tighter, my left quad gets tighter, my left leg's stronger. So I rarely do double leg things. I'm always doing single leg, like Bulgarians, or single leg deadies, and I do 3 sets of my right leg and 1 set of my left leg, because I'm always chasing that imbalance. Right?
Okay,
always,
that's cool. Yeah,
always. Yep. And it gets to balance, right? And then I go 3 and 3. And then if I do a month of jiu-jitsu hard out and I stop doing the gym a little bit, it gets in balance again. I catch myself. I'm like, oh yeah, that feels tighter. I fix that shit, build the strength of that right side up. If you doing like a plank and you lift one elbow and it's way harder than lifting the left elbow, then I just do my right elbow until it feels the same. So I'm always chasing strength the same, because whatever's stronger will hold more tone. And if it holds more tone, whatever joint it connects to, it'll pull on that joint. So think of it like a mast of a ship. You got cables at the front, cables at the back. You need them to be tensioned to hold that mast vertical. And if you got one tight cord, it's going to pull you into a scoliosis or something. So that's where people miss. That's why I love scoliosis clients, because it's like they always get told they need surgery and all this shit. Some people, I feel like they never need surgery, right? But they always get told, oh, you're born with it and shit. Man, I had a girl recently where her foot, me and Jake were laughing about it actually. Yeah, she told us she needs surgery for her spine, and she had to stretch her hamstrings, and the problem went away. Like her spine was sticking out the back, so it was like protruding at the back. I think did you share it? Maybe, I don't know.
Potentially.
Her spine was pushing out the back.
Oh yeah. It was just recent.
Bro, she got told she needs surgery, and we stretched her hamstrings, and it could fix it on the spot. She was blown away because her pelvis was tucking under, it was pushing the spine back, so it gave her a lumbar curve. I had a girl where she told us she needs surgery for her ankle. She had an overly supinated ankle where all the weight was on the outside of her foot. And we just released her hip, which was pulling the foot out, and then did like a crossbody sling pattern to actually sort of flatten the foot a bit, because it was a rotational balance that was driving it.
Yep.
But she got told she needed surgery. So this is the standard. They're just going to cut it and fix that and try and fix that shit. And then it will fuck them years down the track with something, some symptom. So it's fun when I can show them to fix himself. That's what's fun.
Of course, because you're not just getting them in to say, hey, I want to take your money. I'll see you for 20 weeks, and then we might have to keep seeing you. It's get you in, fix you, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like it's, and that's the thing. It's frustrating because I hear you talk about scoliosis, especially. I've got a good mate. I've been trying to get her to you for 2 years.
Really? Yeah.
Man, I try to send so many people to you guys. And then when I have people that are like, oh, it costs a bit. And I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you can go see 2 people who are going to change your life, get in, get it done. It's a 10-week block. And probably don't have to see them ever again the rest of your life. If you're 25 years old and you live till you're 100, whatever it might be, that means you've just seen someone spent probably 0.05% of what you're always going to spend on other shit.
Yeah.
And you've just changed your life.
Yeah. It's
that blows my fucking mind.
Well, I saw Donald, man, and I was in no pain, and I paid nearly $3,000 to do 10 hours with him, and I
look where you're at now.
And I did, because he's like, he found a little weakness in my right shoulder that I didn't even know about. I had no pain, but as soon as he pulled my shoulder to this position, I felt that weakness. I felt like, oh fuck, that's fatigued way quicker than that one. You know what I mean? So now for my sport, I know that I'm stronger there. You know what I mean? But definitely when it goes into sport specific training, it's really good. The Chek stuff's really good at getting real sport specific. So beyond the rehab, when you build my goal is to always rebuild the spinal engine. So always like correct the pelvis first, okay? And then above that, then we can start building the spine exactly how we want it, right? But if the pelvis is off, then the tower above is going to be whack. Same with the neck. If the neck's off, you'll lean out with the hips or something, right? So the pelvis and the neck always has to be centered and balanced. And then from then on, you just train towards your sport. So I train myself like I'd train a jiu-jitsu athlete, and it's like a superpower for people that are around my size or a bit heavier. They're nowhere near as strong as me, and I just know they're not. I just like, no, this person's not trained like this. They haven't trained a single arm cable pull. So when I grab onto their fucking gi and I rip them down, I've repeated that motion 1,000 times in the gym, not just a normal row or something. I'm always training the movement, not the muscle.
Yeah.
And if you're someone doing strength and conditioning, that's the way you want to look. First, you want to balance the body, length tension wise, stretch everything balanced, stabilize get the core working, show them what core is, right? When core's not sit-ups, core's like TVA work, like really pelvic floor stuff. Females need that huge, man, especially postnatal, right? And then train your sport, and it's so much funner when you have an intention. It's like, I'm doing this because of that, and then when I go to my sport and I feel the difference, it's like, fuck, man, it's like it's a superpower.
I just leveled up. I don't know, you've probably heard me talk about it before. I'm a massive gamer, so the way I'm going to approach everything with my technician stuff is I'm probably going to have an app where I've got each client will have their own little fucking character, and I'll give you, if you're training, you're doing certain things, you get new armor, you get new skills, you get new like weapons. That's how I want to look at it. Because I love improvement, and I think it's come from my gaming background. Yeah. When I'm gaming, I'm like, fuck, if I do this dude's going to get this hectic new armor or something. I love what you boys do, because I see that as, say I've got a weakness, or if I've just lost all my armor or whatever, I have to then build up my base again. So that's through, your movement, your nutrition, all this sort of shit. And again, it's part of that making life fun, man. Like, stop taking everything so fucking serious.
And people get forced into that from pain. So I love it when someone's in a real lot of pain. Like most of my clients these days are disc bulges, right? I get all just
a lot of back stuff, right?
A lot of back stuff, really. Yeah. Mainly disc bulges. And they do everything I fucking said because their back hurts so much, but they wouldn't have done it if they were in sort of a little bit. But I love it when I get people that see me that aren't even in pain. They're like, oh, I just want to get on top of this shit so I'm not in pain when I'm 40 or something, That's what I love, where it's like prehab. Where
getting onto it beforehand.
Yeah, because then we can cut out heaps of the rehab pre-stuff that I can just... You take them... I don't give everyone the same thing. You take them where they're at. Like, if I give them an exercise that's too easy, I make it harder, And then we find the weaknesses. And for me, like, you just start finding all these little weaknesses, and then you train them out, and then your body... You just get so strong, man. And it's... I feel like... Yeah, my goal, my dream is to like change the game with this shit. Definitely locally, but then more Australia wide and then international. Like make it more known, because it's out there, but it's just the marketing.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, they're all old people. Like the people I listen to, like they all know a lot, but they're like 60 years old and they don't have Instagram.
They don't know this stuff. Yeah.
So I got to get it out to the younger crowd and say, hey, this is the way we're doing it. Like this is the way I do it. It's working for me. Give it a go, and it's like the life hack. It's like the easiest way to get through life. Yeah, that's what I feel like. It's a nice little template. Like, oh, all this pain teacher. Why did I do that? Whether it's physical or this, I got to ask myself why. What choices did I make to do that? And then this is how I eat. This is how I breathe. This is how I move. This is how I drink. This is how I sleep. And this is how I recover. Yeah. And then you'll fucking beam like the sun.
Yeah. Now that you just said that, because I know you don't have too long to work with, we're already an hour 20 in pretty quickly. What I want to get to now real quick is the technician tools, tips and resources section. So we've probably already done a lot of that, but if we can break that down into a nice little edible part for people to listen to, what are some real basic things they can start incorporating into their life? Like we were talking about, the basics like your water and that sort of thing. So sleep, nutrition, movement.
Yeah.
And then I want you to gas up some local businesses as well that we can talk about, because I'm all about that. I'm never about competition.
Yeah.
Fucking everyone's in this game to help people. So if we can bring everyone on the coast especially.
For sure. Cool. So the way I look at a client, right, the very first thing I always change is water, okay? Because you're made of it, basically. You're made of water, right? So if your water's shitter than the next man's or woman's, that's going to affect you over time, right? If your water's acidic, if your water has... Basically, think about it like this. If you're drinking chlorine and fluoride, whatever study you want to listen to, right? It wasn't in our water. We didn't evolve to have chlorine and fluoride. So we're a single-cell organism. We evolved from water. Everything... You can't just throw a chemical in there and hope for the best. You know, you may not see it on some tests, but you're paying for it somehow, you know? And now we know if you drink chlorine, it's fucking with your gut health. It kills all the bad bacteria, but it kills the good shit too. That we are just a bunch of bacteria, right? So... You want to really change your water because you're made of that, and you want to stay hydrated, especially if you've got back pain because your spine's made of water, your discs are made of water. So if you're dehydrated, they compress and it brings on nerve pain. So drink a shitload of water. Generally, it's about zero. If you get your body weight in kilo, times it by 0.033, that's a really good standard measurement of water, you know, just a standard measurement. But if you exercise, you need more. Make sure it's got a total dissolved solids of about 300. That's a standard, right? Again, if you're just filtering your water and you've stripped all the minerals out of it, and again, for millions of years, we've drank from rivers and that, it's got all the minerals in it, right? So you can't just strip it. To put the minerals back in, chuck salt into the water. I just do a pinch of Celtic sea salt. You shouldn't be able to taste it. That's the rule. So if I have a liter, I just chuck a pinch in. That remineralizes it. And I've tested it with my total dissolved solid meter. You can watch it go up.
Okay.
So it basically penetrates your body more. It hydrates you better, all right? You'll absorb more of it. And make sure it's not acidic, right? So basically, you just want to drink water that doesn't have weird shit in it. You just don't want to be drinking chlorine and fluoride every time you have a sip of water. You don't want to drink a little bit of chlorine. That's pretty, that's pretty logical. If you can't agree with that, then, whatever.
Where's the best place to get it? Because I've heard Geordie talk about Mullaney Mist, I think, or Montville Mist.
I use Montville Mist. I got a lot of my clients on Montville Mist. That's the local source. It's like maybe $11. They deliver you 15 litres. It's cheaper than going to like Woolies. Yeah. I use that. But if you're going to get a filter, something more long-term price-wise, Waters Co. filters. They're a company in Sydney. They have like just a 10-litre jug you can just use and filter tap water. They do a really good clean water. And again, I think they remineralize it for you.
Okay.
So Waters Co. filter, if you're going to get a filter, and they have all shower filters, ones that go into your tap, all sorts of shit. They're the best. And then Montville Mist, if you're local on the Sunshine Coast. Maybe they work in Brizzy too. And then what was the next thing? Oh yeah. So, and then where I shop. So basically the water's the first thing, right? And then I'd come sort of see me or someone trained to correct your breathing, okay? Breathing and water, that's
breath work's a big one, eh?
Yeah, I just want the things that you're doing all day, every day. You're drinking water and you're breathing all day, every day, okay? From then on, we go into food and sleep and things like that, right? By the way, wear blue light blockers at night. And again, fuck the study. Just wear them one night and don't wear them one night and watch the difference. That's all you need to do, right?
Because everyone's on their fucking phone before they go to sleep.
Oh, man, it's crazy. When I don't wear them, I didn't wear them the other night. I was watching Gordon Ramsay till fucking late. It's good watch on YouTube. And I was so wired at night. And I was like, I knew it was the light. And then I wore my glasses next night because I forgot. And I was like, I slept like a baby. And you just feel it. You start getting tired when you wear your glasses. Again, you shouldn't be looking into a fucking sun at night. All your hormones are going to go whack. So blue light blockers, get good ones. I use RA Optics, RA Optics. But you can get blue light blocking official ones on Instagram. They're out there now. I just like the style, RA Optics.
Yep.
I think if you use Ben10 as a discount code, that works too.
Sick.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then locally, man, I get all my food from the Quanah Farmers Market, okay? That if you want to eat organic, we are so lucky where we live on the Sunshine Coast to eat cheap organic food. It's cheaper than Woolies, and you're eating organic. So it means every time you eat something, you're not getting some toxic spray, which means your liver doesn't have to deal with that, which means it doesn't have to push you out through your skin, which means you're lowering your physiological load and you can heal from anything. Remember, to heal from anything, think of your body as one big bucket of stress, and wherever you can lower that bucket, whether that be sleep, nutrition, whatever, your toothpaste, fucking get a good organic toothpaste. If you're doing that every day and you're putting that shit in your mouth every day, make it good. It doesn't even cost extra, right? Basics. Just lower your physiological load. Lower what the inputs of shit go in your body. Don't think about what does this one thing do. Think about as a massa, what does it do, right? So yeah, Quanah Farmers Market and ask. Make sure you don't just go everywhere because they're not all spray free. I also go to the Real Grocer at Golden Beach. That's an organic shop. I like them as people. I find that it's like good to be around, but they got good organic food. They got good Yamundi meat snags, liver snags. So if you want organ meats in your diet, get some of their snags. They got liver added to it. But Bucock's Quality Meats.
Yeah, bro. Hold real quick.
Yeah.
The first sponsor. Just built everywhere. Yeah. But basically, Bucock's essentially like grass-fed, open free range meat. It's incredible. The boys there are awesome. I know everyone that's in this health industry and doing their thing obviously is right into these boys, and they're starting to get bigger and bigger. So incredible for them coming on board. And Cal was the first person to actually talk once I get my first sponsor. So
nice.
Yeah, I know you get a lot of your meat from them. So
I get most of my meat from there. And basically, you just want to support this shit, like with your dollar, because if people start making money from doing this shit, then other people will do it. You know, this is how you change the world. It's not so much a share and a post and shit. It's wherever you spend your money. Because if there's no money to be made, it won't be there, right? So buy that shit, and it doesn't even cost extra than a standard butcher most of the time, you know. So get your grass-fed meat. They got an Exalto snag there, which is like liver and that. Yeah. So if you want to get liver in your body, it's hidden in snags, and I suggest that for mums with kids and that, like where they don't want to eat liver. You can't taste it; it tastes like a normal snag, but you're getting liver. So you just feel your energy before and after, because you'll notice, right? It's like I know when I eat wild caught salmon from Kanara. By the way, shout out to Kanara, the organic place, Forest Glen. I can get wild caught salmon from there.
Hectic.
From the butcher there, and man, I feel great off that. I get a really high energy off wild caught salmon, and I've noticed that. So I don't eat farm salmon because it's fed soy and weird shit, right? So just wild caught salmon. But yeah, Grill Grocer Golden Beach, Bucock's Quality Meats for all your meat and that, Quanah Farmers Market for your veggies and some of your meat. Other than that, forage for a female supplement and a male supplement. It's just marketed to mums, but really I have it too.
Dude, have you heard? Do you know Jordan Nowd? Do you remember Geordie Nowd? She was on the coast here for a bit, went to Mountain Creek and that.
I remember that name, yeah.
Anyway, she's a good mate of mine, and she's actually started a business with her partner called Baby Batch.
Oh, yeah.
And it is incredible, bro. Like, it's these little, like, pre-packaged meals that are full of, like, liver and all that sort of thing for babies.
Nice.
And she's killing it.
Yeah.
Like, she's blowing up. Because obviously this is, like, really good stuff, and this is being fed to your kids at that really, obviously that age where they need that sort of stuff for development. So
it's the future. But if you ask a doctor, they'll tell you not to, because there's an old study based on vitamin A toxicity where they gave them some ridiculous amount, like 100 times the amount you're going to get in the liver, and it was like they found it toxic to babies, but it was synthetic vitamin A too. You know what I mean? It wasn't natural from
real.
The food.
Yeah.
So, and again, back to evolution. Like when you bleed, you eat that stuff. So when you're in your period, you want to have red. And it's why you crave red. Like if you're a girl listening, you understand why you crave like red meat and that when you're on your period. When you're having a baby, like think about this. You've just had a baby. You've just traumatized the body so much. You've just ripped the collagen apart, right? You've built a fucking child, right? It's nuts, right? So you need to be having nutrient density is going to be so important, so important. Your sleep's going to be so important. Your collagen, your bone broth, all that's basic is going to be so important because. Again, you get a girl has a baby and she has a couple of salads, and it's like fuck. You're trying to repair all that with some lettuce, you know. I'm all for the salad. I eat plenty of it.
Yeah,
but I'm just like nutrient density. You know, you combine the two. I have it more so just for some nutrients and more so for the microbiome because they feed on it more than I do, really.
Yeah. Holy crap.
But yeah, that's basically.
And that's some great tips and tools, man. Because that's those things that you can incorporate into your life pretty easily. A lot of it's free.
Yeah.
And then, I think people need to stop looking at money as a precursor for how they're going to live their life.
Yeah.
Because I can understand that, look, some things can be expensive, but what is more important to you? Living a long, healthy life or buying that expensive car?
Yeah.
Paul
talks about it, man, in that if you type in Paul Chek's sleep on YouTube, he says, like, listen, people shop like, they're shopping for food like they're shopping for gasoline to save 50 cents on a bag of carrots. And he's like, you're made of the shit. Like, when you're sick, when you stub your toe and your toe hurts and someone told you, my toe's going to feel like that forever, you would give up your whole house and everything you belong to have that healthy toe. You know what I mean? Or if you have a blocked nose and someone says, that's you for life unless you give me everything you own. I'm giving them everything I own. Like, that's how much your health matters.
Yep.
So you can have all the money in the world, but if you got bad back pain, you can't buy that shit. You know, you really got to look after your vessel because that's what gets you through this life, and then it's fun from there. But none of it's fun if your vessel was whack, right? You gotta correct that shit.
And one thing I'd love to see you touch on, because this is something that really hit me hard when I was listening to what he's saying, and it was about how we've been taught to think a certain way. Because obviously to help this systemized culture that we've built, people aren't meant to be creative, right? And then what's happening as we get older? people are getting to 60 years old, 65 years old, whatever it is. It's older now, like 70. Get their pension. They're like, sick. I've lived my life. But then they're just medicating that with alcohol, smoking, drugs, because they're like, fuck, I never actually lived.
Yeah.
I just did that job. I went to uni, did that job. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's trying to help people that are sitting there thinking, what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah, purpose. Like, well, even though we've talked about where you don't need a purpose per se, just find things that you fucking love doing and do it. Rather than just sitting in a job that you can't stand because you're too scared to take that leap and take the risks that come with doing shit you love. Because I'm sure I'm doing shit I love now, but I barely ever have any money because I'm not working as much now because I'm taking the risk to put time into growing this shit.
You're working for free.
Exactly, for free. Yeah. And I fucking love it. I've never been happier in my life. I don't get anxious, depressive like I used to. And that might have come with my new nutrition that I've got, which is focusing on all your minerals and micronutrients. But I hate to think, bro, and this is why I do this shit, is because I don't want anyone to be out there, and I almost get teary talking about it because I think about people that are, say, 65 years old now, that I love and I know, or 60, 50, whatever it might be, 20 years old. And they're doing shit they fucking hate because they're worried about what other people think, which blows my mind. Or they're buying shit that they don't need or going out, doing drugs. And look, it's good fun, and you probably need to do those things early on, but fuck me, if you're going to do that to cover up an issue that is quite fixable.
You suppress it, and it'll come and it'll come out later on. And you can always hide it, but whenever there's something like, again, that little feeling of, oh, I'm not living my dream, or this isn't right, or something, that is like that just floats there. It never goes away, but it gets stronger and stronger and stronger the longer you let it build, right? And back to that. So for all that shit, right, all these choices we make, again, back to the choice, it's you use that compass with those choices. So like, actually you got to stop and think and be mindful about it. You can't just like go through it. You got to stop and think, if there's a choice in front of you or a situation where, do I like this job? Do I want this? Like, really let that heart be your compass and like almost close your eyes and think about the decision, whatever it is, or the problem or whatever. And then almost think about all the different choices you can make, like optimal choices, ideally, right? And the bad ones. Think about them too, right?
Of course, yeah. We're going to make shit choices.
And then think about where, like, I'm closing my eyes even saying this right now. Think about where your heart lights up a little bit. And it may not light up where you want it to. It may be like, do I want to be with this guy or girl, And you've been a partner for 2 years, and then you're starting to feel like, oh, it's where our core values are off and I don't feel like I want to be with them anymore or something. Then that might light up like, yeah, you want to be with them, but then that's hard too. You're like, and that fear will stop you from doing that shit. But as soon as you do, it's like, oh, nice. Like, I'm there. So that compass, man, that it's just, that's so big. That was so big for me anyway, like actually getting good at that and actually thinking about that with every decision. If I get an email and someone's asking for me, and I think about that, like, what's the way the person wrote the email? How does the energy feel? Like, whatever. Like,
what are the intentions?
And don't let your schooling get in the way of the education, okay? Because it fucking has for me a couple of times, right? Where I was pretty like physio idea with a couple of things, right? It's hard to explain what, like, just like even movement things where I was like, oh, but then I let just a schooling, something I read tell me that's the way, instead of now I'm realized, oh fuck, that's not the way. Like, I've used it, didn't work, but I'm still trying to do it. Like, and like, again, don't let your schooling get in the way of your education, because it'll fucking crush you. And that's what you see in uni. They get out of it, they've spent fucking 4 or 5 years doing this thing. They come out and there's no way someone's going to tell them it was wrong. So it's like they'll push that down deep and be like, no, this is the way, this is it. And they'll, if it doesn't work, they'll be like, oh, it doesn't work for that person, they need surgery. That's in my field, right?
Yeah.
But it could be in whatever. So really, like, just, that choice thing with the compass, use that to get you through life and get better and better and sharpen it like it's a tool. But that's gold for me, I reckon. It's
obviously worked out really well, dude. Look where you are now. And Jake, people.
Yeah.
And I think the coolest part now is that I'm seeing, I'm only, 5 guests in. And I'm seeing there's some fucking amazing people within this space, within this health space. And this is just on the Sunshine Coast, right? And and what's happening, like you said before, things are coming to you. Randomly, my new friend Jess, who I've become really close with at work, she's all into this sort of stuff too. And then she tells me randomly about Todd Jarrett on the coast. He's from Bendigo. He's from where I'm from.
He's on the cleanse right now.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I looked at his page and I was like, this dude's sick. Reached out to him. Dude, within a week, we're telling each other our deepest, darkest stories and shit. And and he's coming on the podcast in a few weeks. So But dude, the guy nearly died.
Yeah.
He was dying.
Yeah.
And he got through that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's doing the parasite cleanse right now, man.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll drop out of tapeworm or something.
Yeah. I've seen some people do that so far. Holy shit.
Oh man, just a little shout out for that. We actually have a parasite cleanse that I put every one of my clients on. It's insane how many people have parasites. Insane. Like more than 50%. So I had 2 clients in the last month that just finished the cleanse and they both shed out a tapeworm. I've had people shed out, they're called whipworms, like so many different parasites that were causing their symptoms, that were in their guts and distress, right? That you can't even get tested for a lot of them too. Like in Australia, they only test for 20 and there's a lot more than that, right?
Jesus.
So it's like one of those things you just do once a year. And for people that want to get on top of their posture and or that can't afford us, like one-on-one, we nearly there. It's taken a while, but we're nearly there, dropping online programs, which will be on our Corrective Culture website soon, which will be an 8-week program that people will send in a photo of their posture. We'll say, buy this one or this one, right? It'll be specific to that type of posture.
That's cool, yeah.
And then they'll do their 8-week program. Really, it'll want to be longer than 8 weeks. People struggle with a couple of things. You got to get good at it, all right? But I feel like that personally is going to be, nothing else is like it on the internet that I back the most. And I feel like if someone's in back pain and they're not local to me, that would be their best option, more so than seeing the average practitioner.
I was going to say, this is where your reach grows, right?
Yeah.
Scaling.
Yeah.
Because going back to exactly what you were saying, how everything just fucking happened. You were within Exalto, I feel like, really quick.
Yeah.
How that worked out was insane.
Real quick.
And I was talking to Jordan about it the other day. I went in to actually check out Exalto. And I walked into your room. I was like, fuck, this is perfect. Like, I was like, man, this is sick. Like, couldn't have worked out any better.
Universe gave us that for cheap. And how's it, man? I didn't have the money to pay for the cab machine, the mats and all that shit, right? And then I was like, I need the money. Booked in 10 assessments in the week. Haven't done that since. 10 assessments in the week. So, there was like $4,500 there. And I just went, boom, put it all on cash, paid for all the shit.
Got it.
I was like, then I didn't want that many people, right? And then it funneled off and it just cleaned itself out. But I needed that money at that time and I didn't want to go into debt. So the universe said, all right, here's the money. Boom. And then chill out again, you know what I mean? And then get your shit sorted. And I was like, fucking, that's ridiculous, right?
How funny is it, man? Yeah. How easy is life when you're actually doing shit that is true to you? And I mean, that's the thing, man. Like, there's basic things where I see it now when I go to work and stuff. I'm only working a couple of times a week at Rebel here. And I love going in there because I love everyone there. I like helping people and stuff. But on the drive, I'm looking around me in the cars and shit. People just like, they're so tight. Their shoulders are hunched over. They're just staring out. Yeah. Everyone's like getting pissed off if someone cuts in front of them for a second. It's like, man, this life that they've created for themselves, it's just full of this anxiety, adrenaline, and they wonder why they're getting sick and pissed off. And it's like, well, I might be driving to something that I might not want to be doing ultimately forever, but it's leading towards the things that I can be doing. So, like you said, you went to your mines and it was a fucking breeze because you knew at the end of it, you were going to be doing what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
So if you can, guys, if you're listening to this and you really want to change things, I mean, you've heard what Cal's just said, find that thing. Take the time to really figure out what it is that you enjoy, because once you do,
life's easy from there.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. But man, I feel like we could probably talk for 10 hours, but an hour and a half solid. That's a good amount of time.
That's good.
I appreciate you coming on and taking the time.
Mate. It's good. Great podcast, and it's good to see you fucking booming real quick, hey? After 5 episodes, man, like
it's cool. And I think I don't want to get like to the point where I become complacent. I was talking to Potsy about it, where it's like I'm still just going to try to stick to one a fortnight, just sort of push them out slowly, keep the quality really high.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing one tomorrow with Zane Bogue. Ziggy goes to the Exalto.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
So because I've been mates with him since we're at school.
Yeah.
And the dude's has got a different sort of outlook on life like I do. Yeah. Similar to like you were saying with Jake, you can have chats where you just go fucking deep and weird probably sometimes. But these are the sort of stories I want too. I see a lot of podcasts, they're just like, they're so focused on getting the most famous person they can on there.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
But a lot of people can't relate to that.
Yeah.
You can't relate to Gary Vee, who's a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
You just listen to him like, Gary, I can't work fucking 18 hours a day or whatever it might be.
4 hours sleep or something.
Yeah. And when I get people in, you know, maybe like Ziggy and that, and you're like, they're just normal people that I've grown up with, but they've had stories that people might not know about. Like yourself, you've been to prison and shit and come out and now doing what you love.
Oh man, I wish you could interview some of the crew I spoke to in there. Like they're no one, right? But fuck, they got some wisdom. You know, in the streets,
dude.
so.
And then if you can take that and use that and actually listen, and you know, that's what I think I love about podcasts so far is that I'm having people message me saying, "Hey, bro, whatever Alice said the other day, that resonated with me and it's changed my life." Like, that's insane.
Yeah, that's huge.
Dude,
that's huge. Yeah.
Fuck, there's one of my mates who's been struggling for ages, and he goes, I listened to the one with Jordan, and my whole outlook on life's different.
Yeah.
What? Like a chat for an hour and a half, 2 hour chat has changed your life? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
is that all it
cool,
takes?
Man. That's cool, man. Yeah, we get messages like that in Corrective all the time. It's like, fuck it, ain't. Someone recently did the parasite cleanse, man. She said she was vomiting. She would cough until she'd vomit for 2 years, and she had diarrhea for 2 years. And she goes, I've been all these tests and all this shit, but she hadn't actually cut out the shitty stuff yet, you know?
Yeah.
And she did the cleanse, and she's like, it's gone. And it was like, she goes, I'm so thankful, rah, rah. And I'm just like, fuck, I've never even met this girl, you know what I mean? And it's like, that just changed her whole concept of eating. So then her kids now know how to eat, and that bloodline, it just travels. Like, truth transcends time, you know what I mean? That's why there's a fucking Bible. It may not be happening to that, but there's still truth in all this shit, you know?
Yeah.
As Jordan Peterson says, and truth always transcends time. Like, so it's cool.
Oof, cool. That's a cool way to finish. So, guys, obviously, get on to Corrective Culture. Check out Cal. Obviously, what's your Instagram handle?
Well, mine's just Callan Krause, but yeah, Corrective Culture. Just full stop. Yeah, Corrective Culture. And yeah, me and Jake just run that show.
Awesome, bro. Well, we'll finish up there, and thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks, bro.